What's up, everyone? Welcome to the latest episode of Power Spike, another Friday edition. Last Friday happened, and so much happened since we recorded the last episode, Digon alongside Dom and Jamada. I like this kind of thing where it is a little bit later in the week, but it gives us like the preview side of it, Dom, instead of the review side of it all the time. Even though we have things to review, it's just a little bit later on in the week. But we last left with a T1 versus Hanwha Worlds qualifier match, essentially. But more importantly, a KT and a Gen.G match that everyone thought was a foregone conclusion. And that is the most commented comment. Cannot wait for next episode after Hanwha Life completely smacked T1. KT is going to Worlds. Korean Telecom roller coaster. The comments are in there. T1 might not make Worlds. That one's already done and dusted with. But that was what we left everyone off with. Just kind of a crazy kind of turn of events in the LCK that had everyone freaking out in the Riot office that maybe this Worlds was cooked and the viewership was going to get tanked. Not after LTA is getting tanked as well. And CB Law, LTA South, sorry, not CB Law, LTA South, LEC. Now T1's not going to Worlds.
Apparently Valorant is also like completely fucking dead. Like I saw like posts about that where it's like the viewership is down like 100,000 average concurrence or some shit. Like yeah, or maybe it's like 100,000 from peak. Yeah. In VCT Americas and stuff. So apparently things are going really bad for Riot across everything. But I'm sure they'll make some good decisions to fix it in the offseason. Just bring back LCS. That's all you need to do. You literally need to just call it a different thing and it will instantly like probably go up in viewership slightly. That's all you need to do. But you know, they'll figure something out.
I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like there's obviously a reason. And I like what I think it is. And again, I don't know this, but I think it's just probably contractual. Like they're not allowed to use LCS. It's probably like some sort of franchising thing or some sort of historical agreement that they're moving on from.
With who? Like, aren't they the ones that like fucking like wrote all these did they like write it in their own contract? Like we cannot use LCS anymore. Like how the fuck can you end up not being able to use LCS when it's like, your brand that you own?
Because it was an agreement with teams and owners and ownerships, and there's probably entities that like some want to continue on with it, the league, like Cloud9, and some want to leave, like 100 Thieves. And so it's like, okay, if you're going to make this thing and then add in CB Law, and maybe it was the CB Law teams as well, you know, like I would call it CB Law. And
I would assume
LCS
that there is literally zero teams that want to call it LTA over CB Law and LCS.
Sure, I agree. But I bet like there were some teams that were like, no, LCS is this entity. So if you want to do something else, you have to make a new entity. And then they did. And now it's all burning. And I think that's I just wonder. I just
can't wait
too big
for like
of a issue.
I just can't wait for the full year to end. Like I assume that they will just it's so easy for them to go back to LCS. I don't think there's anything contractual. I think that they just like were pressured from like higher ups to be like, hey, try this. Hey, change doesn't happen overnight. See it through. People will, get used to it over time, and then it'll be like what they got this type of pressure, and then after a year, they're gonna just go back to like LCS and CB LOL, and just call the LTA the matches that are played internationally, like or between the cross conference, whatever that they want to call it.
It should have been like that anyway. And I mean, the funny thing is, I bet the statement is going to be like, "We heard your feedback."
Yep.
And you know what?
Can't wait for that.
We value the fan sentiment.
It's like
way more than you guys realize.
Shit ever. Like you'll literally be like they'll be like, what about instead of like serving hamburgers at LCS, we'll serve you pieces of dog shit, and then like people are like. I'm eating it. It just tastes like dog shit, bro. Like, what do you mean? And then they'll be like, "We've heard, wow, honestly, like this just shows how tapped in we are with the community. You guys don't want to eat dog shit at the LCS studio. Instead, you can have hamburgers again." And then they'll be like, "Wow, look at how we changed the game. Like, we're the ones that always listen to everyone." Like, I can't wait for that fucking angle to be played because I mean that is just the classic from Riot,
Yeah.
Yeah, LTA.
We'll see what happens with
LTA didn't hit the mark. Like,
yes. We know we missed the mark on this one. Like
yeah,
all of the corporate like sorryisms are gonna come out. I can feel it.
yep.
We
is
missed
what it
the
is,
mark.
man.
We missed the
Yep.
mark. I feel like in my brain that wasn't a term before,
LTA
esports.
didn't land how we expected. Like, thank you, man. Please, just like, can we just move on? Can we just call it LCS again and just move on? Like, please.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking
LCS,
for.
CB LOL, and then those matches between the regions
Our
is the
LTA.
Yes. Easy. Done. Hopefully that's what it is, then they can move on with that. So let's start with, just since these comments were big on that in terms of the upsets in the LCK, let's start there, because that's what the people wanted to hear the takes on. Gen.G and KT, the upset happened. 5 games. Chovying in the side lane, watching everything burn on Twisted Fate, not having impact there. KT going to Worlds, crying BDD. Like, oh man, like it just, even just talking about it again, I get goosebumps just because of how much it meant to this group. Perfect, the worst top laner going to Worlds from the LCK. Like it's just, there are so many different angles there that you can celebrate or be just surprised by. So KT beating Gen.G, and without breaking down necessarily like into the weeds, what is that, just what jumps out at you about that, Dom?
Well, I mean, I think the reason why it should be impossible theoretically for KT to beat Gen.G is because Gen.G, they have like their 2 best players are probably their mid jungle, right? It's arguable with Keen. Keen is obviously really solid, but when you watch Gen.G play, it's like they have the best mid jungle in the entire world with Chovy and Canyon, obviously. And watching them just get outclassed, like Canyon mainly get outclassed for 5
Yeah.
games is just crazy. Like, so there's not really an angle for KT. Like when I'm looking at the rosters and I'm looking at how they'll compete, it's like, I think that KT literally has worse players in every single role, and their playstyle of like, Duck Dom just exist, Perfect just exist, and like Cuz play around BDD and hopefully BDD carries the game. That should work. I could see that working into a team like T1 maybe, because one of the weakest parts of T1 is Faker in the mid lane, right? Like Faker is just having a rough go of it recently. So that is something where I'm like, oh, BDD can abuse them. I mean, when KT ended up beating T1 in that series, Faker's getting solo killed by BDD, and that's something that you can see stylistically the matchup working. But Gen.G versus KT, it should theoretically just be by far the worst matchup for KT out of all the other teams, because like Peanut can have an off series on Hanwha Life, so I could see, oh, maybe there's an angle where Cuz just gaps Peanut. Peanut's having one of his bad mechanical days. Faker getting gapped by BDD. That's something that we've seen before. Something I wouldn't be super surprised by at this current point. But Gen.G, this should never happen. And like, I'll be honest, I can't remember the last time I watched Canyon play such a bad series in playoffs.
It was against Bro. It was against Bro in LCK Cup when the Bros beat them. Like I vividly
that wasn't
remember
even playoffs. That was like
yeah, that's right. It was just the cross conference. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. So I mean, normally Canyon is pretty clutch when it comes to playoffs, but he just looked off, like really, really off. I think there's also like an issue right now that teams have in LCK, which luckily for the patches, it shouldn't be a problem at Worlds because Kiana's getting gutted, but this Kiana champion is completely OP. It's being early picked in LPL all the time. It's undefeated in LPL. It's like 8-0 in LPL. Some of the Kianas do not deserve to win. I will say that. Yeah. Like Nayu Kiana did not deserve to win, but this is a champion that is completely broken, and it just looked like Canyon could not mechanically play the champion. Like it just looked like he just could not play it at all, and that's a problem that's happening right now for LCK teams. So I think it's kind of throwing off prios in general, because part of the reason why like in other regions Annie is such a high prio pick is because Annie can pair with Kiana, right? It's like, all right, we can go Annie Jarvan if they go something immobile, which normally the answers to Annie in lane are like immobile champions or Galio. It's like if they want to go something immobile, like we pick Annie, you pick Orianna, that's normally a trade. Then you can just go Jarvan, Annie, and then the Orianna is really unhappy. But if they go something like Jarvan, Orianna, they take the Jarvan from you, then you go Kiana, and Kiana is a great answer to Jarvan. Very hard for Jarvan hit EQ. Items are just cheaper way cheaper for Kiana, which is why people run the first strike build with Treasure Hunter and stuff. So it's normally something that teams are willing to play around, but it feels like right now in LCK, there's a lot of like issues around this pick. I mean, Raptors Kiana, just insanely reportable. Like this guy was bad. A 3-0 lead on a Kiana like this, that he just ends up, just vomiting on top of himself. He gets ulted by Jarvan. W somehow inside the Jarvan ult. Like normally when you get ulted by Jarvan, like it doesn't really matter for Kiana because you can E to get out potentially, or you can W out of it. And also when Jarvan ults you, you can stun him on his ult. But he did the forbidden combo, died. It is what it is. So this is a problem that we're seeing. So like Gen.G also, I think, suffered from this within the series. They had like the free lost Kiana game. I think Kiana hasn't won a game yet in LCK.
0-4.
So,
that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's like one of the best champions, like especially on this patch. It gets nerfed on the next patch. So that's why I think it might not be that big of a deal long term. But yeah, I mean, it's like this issue that Gen.G has. And then, I mean, Canyon just looked out of it. Sometimes Canyon does weird things, like he'll get caught randomly, or he'll like suicide in a fight where it's like, oh, you could have played this slower. I expect that type of stuff from Canyon, but I don't expect just like the like looking lost throughout the game.
Invisibility.
Yeah, I mean, he just didn't look like he had a good idea of like how he was going to win these games, and that's tough. That's pretty tough to see from Gen.G there. So I kind of view it as a fluke. I mean, that has not been a problem for Gen.G throughout the entire year. Like they haven't had, Canyon play this bad, or Chovy be kind of bad like this in a long time. So I think that it's honestly just like a trap game. They think that it's going to be probably easier than it is, and then you throw it Otacon game 2, and then Shopify comes back. KT comes back in the series. So yeah, happens. Sometimes you pick your opponent and then you just lose.
That is what happens. Hopefully for Gen.G, they can learn lessons from picking their opponents from other regions and bounce back in the lower bracket match. Yeah, Cuz had himself a resurgence. There was a lot of I guess positives to the negatives that Gen.G presented for the side of KT. In that game 5, I think they went and they took like Soul, and then they go force a Baron, and just in the face of Canyon's Lee Sin just is like, yes, I'm gonna smite this in front of your face and still take this, and then they close the game out. It was just such a really cool resurgence there by Cuz, and just want to give him the shout out. Jamada, what jumped out at you from that huge upset, probably the second biggest upset in LoL Esports, other than 100 Thieves beating
I'd say Duckdom, I think he had a really solid series into Ruler and into Duro throughout. I think anytime that he was given like a hyper carry, like I think it was the Xayah game was I think it was game 3, which I think you could also take a really funny meme screenshot of, because I think no one else on KT got kills that game, and he was really like the driving force. There was also the Unara game, and his game 5, his Ezreal, probably the most like impressive performance out of all 5 games, where he was just switched on. I don't really know what else to say. And I feel like, especially when that team is typically just so driven by BDD and Cuz, like we've been saying, the fact that he was also online underneath all of that, doing a lot of heavy lifting, right? I think a lot of the flashiest plays came out of Cuz and BDD, but when you look at a lot of the team fights, a lot of the damage like being dished out was also coming through Duckdom. So honestly, for me, it was him, and then more of a shout out to kind of the funny meme that came out of the cast. Peter, the petal peddler, just a really funny line. That like he also, like, just between them, I think the bottom lane of KT really showed up to also assist what was like a phenomenal day for Cousin for BDD.
Yeah. The other series that happened as well, that very next day, Hanwha Life beat the shit out of T1 3-0. It was a comprehensive victory. It was better play, better draft plans. And I think game 3 was probably one of my favorite games of the year, where, hey, here's 2 very clear win conditions. Both teams are kind of trying to eke out edges there with the Smolder scaling for the side of Hanwha Life Esports, and then T1 just making sure they get all the objectives, trying to see if they can make Hanwha step out of line. But Peanut also having a final run glow up here before he heads to military, which is now something that he's already announced. And they end up winning the series 3-0 scale on the Smolder, unlike what DPlus is able to do against T1, and get themselves a victory. So, Jemana, let's start with you. What jumped out at you with the way that T1 looked and the way that Hanwha looked in that qualification match?
I mean, I'll start with HLE. I really liked how they approached basically every draft going into T1, and I think even the technically air quotes problematic draft of game 3, where it's like you have almost the losing lanes across the board. The band-aid of that very creative lane swap adaptation completely fixed that, right? Where all of a sudden you don't have to have Zeus dealing with the really annoying. It's like it's not an unplayable matchup, but it's like just a really uncomfortable and annoying one in Jackson to Gragas. He gets to lane into I think it was Yunara in that game 3, right? From Gumar. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was Yunara and Rakan. Alongside Delight for like 1 level, just make sure he gets enough XP to be level 2. Roam up into the mid lane and just constant pressure on Faker. I think Delight ganked Faker like 3 times in 3 minutes or something really silly. And I think it was that 3rd time where they were actually able to get 3 people on top of him and they killed him. And even though Oner was around, it wasn't really enough. And all the while, it's just like, yeah, Viper's just free stacking into this Gragas on the top side. So even in that situation where it's like, okay, cool, like the draft is kind of, I wouldn't say unplayable, but again, just like very uncomfortable, just in the fact of the losing lanes and the fact that T1 should have been able to stack a lot of objectives, and they did still, right? The fact that T1 were so on the money with their objective stacking, but then HLE came in with the strategy, and they got very fortunate, I will say, on that 4th dragon, right? HLE, where Viper was able to steal away the Chemtech Soul, I think it was, through burn, just simply because Oner had smited someone.
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, Oner
he just tried to burst through.
I mean, he just doesn't. He didn't grab rock. He grabbed. He grabbed
ice.
To like secure it, which is obviously bad. I mean, I think that people have just figured out how to draft against T1. You saw a similar iteration of what Damwon did, where they're just trying to limit the Keria picks. So, for example, in this one, Hanwha Life just banned Bard every single game. So instead of doing what Damwon did, where you trade the Bard, they just banned Bard 1, 2, 3 every single game. Just lock the ban, and then game 1 you trade 2 Keria champions, right? Keria gets Nico, and you take Poppy, but you play Poppy jungle into Jarvan, which is also one of Peanut's best champions. So that's already a win. And one thing that Hanwha Life did in this series is they just blinded mid every single game. They just blinded their mid pick because they know that Faker's not good enough to punish these types of blind picks in lane. Like Orianna, I think is pretty hard to punish generally, but like when you go into game 2, Ryze is a champion that has a lot of things that answer it, right? You have a bunch of different angles that you can take into Ryze. Either you can play something that's like, has more range, you play something like Victor and just scale for free, or you can do things like play Cassio into it, which is something that we've seen before. I mean, you have options, especially when you have the stronger early jungler, right? So T1 first picked Pantheon, most OP jungler on the patch in most people's estimation, unless they're huge Kiana fanatics. But yeah, one of the best champions on the patch. They play Annie Pantheon into it, and Zika's actually fine within this game. Game 3, Hanwha Life picks Sylas. They blind Sylas. Most people are not willing to blind Sylas, especially with all these different picks up, because there's things like Akali, which would be pretty good in this game. When your team is Xin Zhao, Jax, Sylas, Alistar, there's not much to actually stop an Akali from being able to like get in and play. It's really only the Alistar that he has to worry about. Akali's always been historically good into Jax. It's something that can side lane into Jax even in the mid game. So that was a potential angle for T1. They decided to go for Cassio, which I think is fair enough. But Faker just didn't have a great Cassio game. I mean, he did get ganked early, but I think the ganks were relatively telegraphed. I don't think there was a real reason he should die the way he did. And then I thought the biggest mistake he made was that fight around Raptors, where he knew where everyone was. He created this like world war around Raptors where Sylas and Xin Zhao just outplayed. Faker tried to flash ult. Sylas got a 2-man Cassio ult himself, and Zika just smurfed in that one. But I felt like this is a really unnecessary play considering how the game is going. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was just a pretty rough showing from Faker overall. And I think this has been a consistent theme. Like right now, I would say Faker is taking a step back. I mean, he was never like the most dominant laner in recent times, but he was somebody who was just like solid. He would just play his champs and go side lane and then get an advantage. But I think Doran has also been playing a lot worse than what we were expecting. Like
international Doran's back.
Yeah, I mean, he was somebody who, when T1 was playing well, you know, like he was playing the Gwen, the Mbessa, you know, well, getting leads every single game. Now, when he's playing these champions, I mean, Gwen's been nerfed, obviously. Mbessa, when they picked it in the series versus Dom1, they're playing it into Renekton, which is obviously a counter matchup. But it just doesn't feel like Doran is having much value within these games. And then you obviously saw the fight that should have been the game-winning fight for T1 on Soul. Gragas does a completely forbidden combo. And if that didn't happen, it probably would have been a T1 at least winning game number 3. So we would have seen, you know, more from there. But yeah, it just feels like right now, T1 just seems like they're just out of form individually. Like, it feels like no one's playing that well anymore. People are just targeting Keria as champions, and nobody else is stepping up outside of Oner, obviously, in the Dom1 series, right? But I don't think Oner is going to be able to carry 3 lanes that are just doing whatever. They need one of their laners to actually, you know, step up and be carrying these games.
Yeah, I think. I mean, that was my key to the the DPlus series. It was Dorn. You are in Lowell Park, my guy. You are. Just remember, you're in home. You're still in Korea. Like, he played like ass in the Hanwha series, and it's interesting that no one has been able to step up, because throughout the year, someone has been able to step up, whether it was Doran or Guma or Keria, but right now, no one has stepped up. Oner's levels dropped, Baker's levels dropped, Doran's play dropped in that series. He played a little bit better against DPlus, especially that Kennen pick that snuck on out, and I was able to in the interview with him that we had on the space, he said it was something that was more on a whim, and even though we hadn't practiced it much, I felt pretty good with my performance, which I I like that. Hey, Worlds is on the line. There is pressure here, but I feel comfortable with pulling this pick up because it makes sense for what we want to do. So he's willing to go at least stretch the champ pool a little more. And then with the Cassiopeia Akali conversation, like Faker has shown that Akali more recently, I think too. So I think it's less of he can't do it, and more of, hey, we had it wrong that time, and now we can adjust if we need to go to the Akali there. So T1, very interesting journey that they had to take, and I mean the whole week, everyone's kind of sweating. You know, everyone's like, is T1 really gonna lose? Is the D plus Magic's gonna be there? Like D plus Kia looked good against BNK X.
I
Showmaker
disagree.
said he was gonna make Worlds, and it was it ends up just kind of going the way that all the execs over at Riot feel comfortable with, and everyone except not everyone. A lot of people were disappointed that D plus didn't get there. Sorry, go ahead, Dom.
I was going to say, I thought that D plus played terrible into being in X. And during the series, my take was like, I said during the series, I think it's on like my shorts. I'm like, I think there's zero way that T1 lose to this team. Dom1 is just too fucking bad. Like, they're just so bad. So
they can't help it.
Yeah,
like, they actually can't help it.
Yeah. Like, so I just think that it's like, I don't know how to evaluate T1 now, because I don't think they really had to show much versus Dom1. Like, I think Dom1 is not a great team. They had problems all year. And then more importantly, it's like they could have been down 0-2 easy in the series. Like, Oner needs to do the most like 1v9 shit ever to just win these games, where, you know, you're expecting them to play their comps better. Like, T1 kept on going for these engages on the Lucian with like Sion flash ulting in, as opposed to just playing front to back when they should win front to back with their comp. I thought that this was a pretty weird mistake from T1, because they're like this Janna pick in this game too for Dom1. I think it's actually so bad in this game. I don't understand why you go Janna. Like, I mean, Janna is not Lulu, right? Like, Lulu can make Xin Zhao OP, but I don't think Janna really makes Xin Zhao OP. So it's essentially just a disengaged champ, but
Yeah.
I don't think you're supposed to win front to back when the enemy team has like a Scion in this game either. So yeah, I mean, I just thought that like if T1 just played front to back with their like Sivir Scion, they would have won this game a lot easier. They made it as hard on themselves as possible. Like barely won off Oner just completely carrying random fights. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like T1 didn't really have to do anything here to impress me. Like there's nothing here that's showing me that they're gonna actually beat Gen.G. I mean, who knows? They could do it, but it just like I mean, their game 4 where Barrel's just running it down on Rammus. It took T1 actually quite a bit to close this game. Where I'm like, I mean, Barrel is actually in feeding. How do we not just like end this game in fucking 25 minutes with Barrel attempting to lose as hard as he possibly can?
I can't recall the last time that I feel like I actively saw a call come from above and just be like, yo, save the viewership, Barrel. Like, let it happen. Just let it happen, Barrel. All right. Yeah. Like, no one's going to suspect anything if it's you. So here's the paycheck. Let it happen. But I totally agree. And I think the only, like, just to backstep for a second, like as the DK versus BFX series went on, it was like each game I lost more faith in DPlus's like ability to actually beat T1, even though they took them to 5 games and unarguably should have won their first series against T1, right? Like again, it took aiming, running it down mid basically on Smolder, like eing in front of a Blitzcrank to save T1's game state in that game 5. But even in that game 2, it's like if it wasn't for Oner's like one of the like craziest individual jungle performances that I've seen all year, and also like again to focus on aiming, because ever since I spoke to Orcs and Orcs put this in my head, aiming really is just the anti-clutch guy. Like he, when push comes to he can't do it, can he? Like it was Essence Reaver. He's playing Lucian, mind you, into like 3.5 melees or 4 melees, and he's gone Essence Reaver, Flicker Blade, which like. I think you can half forgive Flicker Blade. It's like, hey, if you're like autoing a bunch, then you get to like reposition a lot. All right, cool, whatever. Into Black Cleaver. What? Like, no IE, no LDR, like Black Cleaver.
I mean, the worst part is that when he builds Black Cleaver, he's trading off damage for tankiness, right? Yes. But then T1 saw that and they're like, let's dive him. It's like, what the fuck? Like, how is the idea where it's like, okay, the Lucian is building Black Cleaver. Now we're gonna flash Scion ult him. Bro, just hit anyone else. Like literally just hit anyone else and you're gonna just win. Like the front line here is Rumble, Xinjiao, Ahri. And you've got Alistar Scion as your front line with Talia Sivir dealing damage. How are you not winning this game front to back?
Yeah, it was just really insane. So I feel like between aiming's build and also just like there was a couple of times where he just got caught by like whether it was a Talia flick or just sometimes like Doran's engages were weird, but they did make team fights uncomfortable for aiming, right? But there was just a lot of that just made me go, okay, like thanks, I guess. We're not gonna get like this fun upset. And it did lead to T1 again, not really showing us much other than like Oner needs to really, you know, he's got a deadlift like 800 pounds worth of weight to get them over the line. And that makes me worry for Gen.G T1, right? Because even though, yes, Canyon is by far the weakest performer right now on Gen.G, is Oner going to have the same amount of freedom with his laners laning into Keen, Chovy, Ruladuro? Probably not, right? Like, the likelihood is it's just not going to happen like that. It won't play out like that, 90 times out of 100. So I don't really see too many worlds, barring some serious Gen.G underperformances where, like, this series goes T1's way, like, heavy-handedly, and then at most it's like, okay, we get, like, a classic lower bracket cinema, like, 5-game banger. Again, the calls are coming from upstairs. Give us the viewership. Like, hey, we can put them against the LPL 4th seed anyway, and that will, like, what I mean? Like, it just feels like very tinfoil hatty. But on an analytical level, I can't see it other than Canyon not getting his shit together by the time this series rolls around, and letting a gap happen so big that Oner actually can get these guys across the line.
Also, just surreal that from MSI, from EDC, even from LCK Cup, LPL playing either Gen.G or T1. Not Hanwha Life Esports, not KT, not DPlus. Like that's
a horror.
kind of
It's a catastrophe for like basically every potential fourth seed that the LPL can send.
I mean, bro, like,
Yeah.
I think that from the other angle, if T1 ends up being the fourth seed, this is like by far their worst year ever in LCK. Think about what their placings would be. They would be 5th, 6th in winter,
Yep.
into 2nd in spring, into 4th in summer. Like, it feels like that it's been a while since they've had placings this bad domestically. So I think that I mean, when teams have tried to like analyze how to beat T1, I think they've been really accurate about how to hamstring them in draft. And I just think that this is something that T1 is going to have to really address. Like, Keria is going to have to get back on the having some really good Alistar games, having some more good Rakan games. I mean, he does play Rakan pretty well, but just like he needs to solidify those where teams actually have to draft like he's a standard support player somewhat. You know, they don't want to give him a really good Alistar game, because if you look at how other teams are drafting, Alistar is insane prio right now. Teams on blue side are 1, 2, 3 banning Alistar, because the idea is if you draft Alistar blind on blue side, enemy team can answer with a Sylas, and if you get Sylas, or if you get a Alistar on red side, you can get an R3 and then ban the Sylas 4-5. So this is like something that we're seeing a lot of teams start doing, but it doesn't feel like a power pick for T1, right? Like if they get Alistar, you're happy with it. It's like, oh yeah, if you play Rakan into his Alistar, to carry his Alistar, sure. Like any day of the week, you'll take that over playing Nico Bard. You know, we're not like into his Renata, into his Poppy, like all this type of stuff. And he did get Poppy in game 1 here, but also because of how things are going, it feels like T1 feels really pressured to draft his champions whenever they get a chance, right? Like they're like, oh fuck, like game 1, it's not even a great Poppy angle. Let me just drag a Poppy into this draft in game 1 just because we want to get it, as opposed to like having to play against it at some point, or like, you know, just have it get banned in future games. So I think that's something that T1 has to just, they have to get better at, because right now none of the other picks feel like power picks. You're not really worried about like Doran's Mbessa. You're not really worried about like Faker's Galio. I mean, his Galio is good, but it's just not, it's not something that you'll be afraid of. It's like if you play something that's good into Galio, you'd rather have that than, you know, having Keria do his magic.
Final thoughts, Jamada?
Yeah, no, I felt like T1 actually half identified what the issue was in like, okay, I think when you look at the global merits, a lot of the time for the last couple of months has been first picking, you know, your whole top side in the first 3. Okay, we can't do that anymore, otherwise Keria doesn't get his champs. Let's slam some of them early. But even in those drafts, yeah, they just don't, like, you know, you're giving then the opponent the opportunity to put Keria in a bad matchup, or put him in lanes where he just doesn't get the ability to roam around. So I don't know what the next evolution is, because I feel like they got away with it a couple of games here and there, like versus DPlus, for example, where like drafting Keria champs in the first 3 kind of just works. But yeah, you know, again, I feel like teams have really gone out of their way in the LCK, obviously, to very heavily study what is making T1 tick inside a lot of their drafts. And Gen.G, I feel like, will be no different. So I feel like even by the time, you know, this Gen.G series rolls around, T1 are going to have some kind of draft answer already prepped. Otherwise, I feel like, again, it's just another one of those things where you've already got the odds stacked against you. That's just another layer of a problem that you really don't need. If you're trying to, at the very least, you know, make it directly into Swiss top 3, go on the roadshow as well, obviously, for the LCK finals.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for all of you that threw out the comments about KT's sneaky victory over Gen.G, the T1 stress of dropping out and possibly not making it to Worlds. And one future teller here, Fire Element 6, says the writers are somehow getting even lazier. Somehow T1 are going to get 4th and putting them in play-ins, which means this year is a single best of 5 against 4th placed LPL, which is somehow going to be IG. And instead of the Gigabamer, where you can watch multiple times across Swiss knockouts, the Shy is then going to once again int for the motherland, despite Rookie having a good match into Faker. There it is. We don't even have to play the play-ins. It's already been written out how it's going to happen. Again, thank you for the comments and all of you who are watching and supporting. We like the tin hat theories. If you have another theory on how this one's going to
Tin
play
hat?
out before this weekend, let us know in the future. All right. Well, before we continue on, it's time to remind you about our friends that make the show go. And this episode of Power Spike is brought to you by our friends over at Drip Drop. Now, Drip Drop is doctor developed, proven fast hydration that includes a precise ratio of sodium, electrolytes, and glucose for rapid fluid absorption, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar versus the leading sports brand. So if you're out there working out, you're trying to get yourself rehydrated, Drip Drop has you covered. Now, Drip Drop is a breakthrough hydration formula that's backed in science, which is why it's trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of top pro and college sports teams. And right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners here 20% off of your first order. Head on over to dripdrop.com and use the promo code LFN. That's dripdrop.com. Use the code LFN for 20% off. They have a ton of different flavors. Again, Dom has had the opportunity of trying a couple of those flavors. You should try out some of the ones that he loves as well. Dom, your favorite was cherry limeade, I believe.
Yeah, cherry limeade. It's the one that's the best to me. I mean, I'm generally somebody who likes the ones that have like a little bit of tanginess, and I feel like that one has that perfectly. So yeah, cherry limeade I think is the way for Drip Drop. But they have a bunch of other flavors that you can try. I think I got like 6 flavors in my pack. So yeah, I think that's something that you guys should check out. So yeah, D-Gun, take us away.
Stock up now before the heat hits hard. Dripdrop.com and use the promo code LFN now for 20% off your order. Thanks to our friends over at Drip Drop. All right. Let's get into a unique segment. We only get to do this once, I guess one time of the year. Not once a year, but one time of the year. We're calling this one Eulogies, as the teams who took the battlefield and their dreams of worlds fall a little short, and we say goodbye to them. So let's call out some teams whose dreams have faded and will not continue on in this segment called Eulogies. We start each team's eulogy with condolences. So I will start. Condolences, Shopify Rebellion. You will mostly be remembered for the success that was brought to Red Canids, Kalunga. However, let it be known that Palafaker, he himself, the slayer of men, the slayer of many other dreams, had himself great performances this year, worthy to be talked about, and should be celebrated and talked about. Contracts, my boy, Juanito. Great aggression, except when it gets turned on his face. And the long-standing soldier of that Shopify Rebellion squad over on the bot lane, B-Boy, who has had to put up with different supports, different teammates, gets so close to making it to the world stage, falls short yet again. May you be remembered in 2025. Jamada, you go next. Who we shouting out to in our eulogy?
Well, I guess I'll give my condolences over to Giant X. You know, they were the scrim champions of Europe throughout 2025. Honestly, by many accounts of teams and players alike inside of the league, the scariest team to wake up to on a Wednesday and knowing you'd have to be practicing against them. Horrible fate that would await you on those days. But alas, despite a 3-0 against BDS, a very convincing one at that, their road ended at Orange and Black in Fnatic. And frankly, whilst we potentially shift tone a little bit here, good riddance. Good riddance. You know, I can't believe that I almost bought into the hype I was this close. This close. Had they closed out game 1, maybe they wouldn't have even been in this selection for my eulogy here. But 10k into a sweep? A 10k loss into a sweep? This might be a eulogy, but frankly, I'm kind of happy that they're dead. Giant X, you provided us with... Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adios los gigantes. El Dominico.
Well, I know everyone's had a sad tone, but I just want to change it up and say, hey, this is a happy eulogy, a celebration of the death of Dom1. They were fucking horrible compared to expectations the entire year.
Oh my God.
I hated watching Barrel play, and they went out exactly how they lived, disgustingly with a Rammus support. So I'm happy for that one. You know, don't get me canceled on Twitter. I know people are getting canceled for celebrating people's deaths these days. This is the death of a team. You know, it's a different topic, guys. Just keep me keep me in it for a little bit longer. You know, but yeah, I just want to say. Just want to say, yeah, a celebration of death here for Giant X. Or for Dom1, I don't know. I said Giant X.
Dom1, yeah. Yeah, good riddance, Dom1.
Oh man, Dom, I just, you know, we've skirted with danger so many times before, but I think we'll see. That was the dangerous.
Well, if I'm not here next week, guys, if I'm not here next week, you know what happened. You know what happened.
Oh,
jeez. All right. Condolences. Drop your eulogies in the chat for your the team that you I guess will miss watching in 2025, whether it is hate watching or in anger. Let us know in the chat in the comments below. Eulogies and condolences. All right. Time for Highkey, Lowkey, Nokey. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
This close, bro. This close.
We'll see next week.
Hey, I said it was the death of a team. I got us out of there. You know,
you did.
It was honestly.
Yep.
Oh man, whatever, man. Whatever. It is what it is.
Along with eulogies, let's dive into those with Highkey, Lowkey, Nokey ranking our most disappointing losses of playoffs. Let's get into it. Highkey, Lowkey, Nokey. All right. Some big losses here. Obviously, we touched on them in eulogies, but let's rank them. Who's your no-key loss? I guess the least disappointing loss here, Jamada.
Well, yeah, Giant X. Funnily enough, yeah, my Nokey would be Giant X. I wasn't actually that surprised. I was surprised by the nature of how it happened, right? Like, I think the whiplash of a 10k gold lead into just 2 relatively stomp heavy games, right? It never really felt like GX had much of a platform in either game 2 or game 3 to really win, to be honest. Maybe some arguments with, hey, like the Into the Vein draft, there is like, okay, like some of the way that some assignments ended up happening in the first 14-15 minutes, you know, you could try to play through Jackies and Isma, but the fact that Upset was, you know, ahead, and actually you could also even talk about the fact that even though Upset was ahead, like Noah had the item advantage for like a couple of windows where it's like, okay, maybe they can play through the Sivir. No, like it just didn't really happen. And again, just kind of touching on the eulogy memes for a moment, I think all of the kind of internal hype of, okay, you know, Scrim Kings, this, that, the other, you know, even out of the top 3, top 4 teams, they're all struggling to take games off them behind the scenes. Okay, well, show it on stage. First big hurdle in Fnatic, who, you know, arguably or unarguably, depending on your stance, the weakest of the top 4 teams, and they can't close a 10k gold lead, and they basically don't make the rest of the series look particularly competitive. This just rings off to me as like a very, very easy Nokey of like, come on, man. Like, sure, again, you can buy into the hype like I almost did, but I just think the fact that they didn't really have a lot to show for the previous results anyway, the fact that they just trip over first hurdle, I don't feel like the hype was particularly high enough unless, again, you bought into those scrim results.
Dom, who's your least disappointed loss? Your Nokey.
I mean, I would say actually Dom won as well. Like, I'll take my eulogy. It's like, I mean, they played against T1, right? Like, they should fucking lose to T1. There's no way that they should be beating T1. So that's one that's understandable. Now, don't get me wrong. The way they lost to T1 was disgusting. Like, that was a horrible, horrific way to lose to T1 with the Rammus support. But I didn't actually expect them to advance. I just thought that they could show up and maybe do something on the day if they were like feeling it. But it just felt like they played a little bit under expectations, and after they didn't close out that game too, I just knew it was over, you know?
Yeah. I guess I'm gonna cheat here a little bit, but because it's a loss, but they're not out. I think the 3-2 top esports and BLG match, the upper bracket finals, was like, that was just an entertaining fucking series back and forth, the slobber knocker that went the whole distance. I mean, we're gonna dive deeper into that later on, but just what a fun series to watch. And someone was going to lose. Unfortunately, top esports getting the short end of the stick of it. How can you compete when you have so many junglers that you got to prep for in the series, not even just in pre-prep?
Too many junglers.
Right.
Can't win.
Let's go Lowkey. What was a moderately disappointing loss? Dom, we'll start with you.
I would say Vitality. Like, I thought that was like a pretty, like, I mean, okay, I didn't expect them to win, but I didn't expect it to be like this, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just pretty bad. Like, it was just pretty. It's like the way they won game one. I was like, okay, show me something else, and I feel like they just kind of like went out with a whimper afterwards. So it just wasn't. It wasn't enough for me when I looked at this lineup, because I thought that this was like one of the more fun teams to watch in LEC this split. Like, I thought that they were actually pretty enjoyable most of the time. But they just didn't have it. You know, they just didn't have it at the end.
I'm glad you bought into the Vitality baby hype. You know, I feel like they're one of my teams I kind of planted a small flag in for.
Yeah.
Just again, purely for the hands. Like brain, not so much, but like hands, they could bring it. They would have been my Lowkey, but I don't want to lock in the same as Dom here. So I'll just say Shopify Red. Though there's probably a strong argument for this to be a high-key disappointing loss. I have a different candidate who probably resonate with a few more people. Yeah, I just feel like you can't be. I don't care about, you know, how you want to weight, you know, LTA North against LTA South. I think on your pride as a North American team, you can't be losing to LTA South teams. You can't. I don't care that it was a 3-2. I don't care that it was like close. Shouldn't happen. And I just feel like for all of the talk that certain members of that team also gave to show up and have that kind of performance as well, namely in Palafox, bro, just I don't think it's on. And I think now I'm kind of curious about how 100 Thieves Red will look, but that is the series to me that was kind of a low-key disappointment, because I at the very least thought that Shopify would get past round one in the championship playoffs, man. Yeah.
I think for me, it's the DPlus series, just because you played against T1 and you got a Blitzcrank hook away. You watched them and had the playbook on how to beat them through Hanwha Life Esports. You get your confidence boost by beating BNK Fearx. Wasn't clean, but Lucid styled on Lee Sin, and so vibes were good. And then you just you get a game one. I don't know. It just feels like it was ripe for the victory there. Ways to do that, and then the Rammus pick as well. I think CV Max in an interview was like, "I think we won draft in game 4." It was like, what? Okay.
I mean, honestly, I didn't think T1's draft was that good, because they had Silas plus Annie plus Leona on the same team. I generally don't like drafts like that, where you have like 3 champions that get completely fucked by Mercs. But I mean, I didn't fuck with the draft.
Well, I mean, the answer was obviously the AD counter, who has no reason to actually build tabbies or armor actually in that game in Rammus support, bro. So like,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean that's why the Rammus. I mean, I understand. Like he probably wanted to go Maokai, but he's like, okay, I can't go Maokai because if I go Maokai, then I'm giving Silas a really good ult. That was his logic. But it's like, bro, you just picked a champion and you made the game 4v5. Like surely that's worse than giving this guy a good ult, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just in my head, just put the Braum in the bag. Like, does Braum Jin suck? Yes. Do you like have Braum for MFR? Yes. Like, okay, like problem half solved. Is it still gonna suck? Probably. Is it at least more playable than having fucking Rammus support? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Agreed,
mean, it was there for the taking. That draft sucked, and it just feels like a wasted opportunity for DPlus and a wasted season for DPlus after suffering through being in the Rise group and having the challenges of every loss there felt like the world was ending and every win was expected, and then it doesn't quite work out. So, my high key is again Shopify and Red. Like I think it was the one loss this year. I'm trying to think. Was there a bro loss that made me angry as a bro fan? Like that one just made me angry. Dom, you're the one that pulled up the stat, I think, where the West's record against LPL and LCK is better than CB LOL's record against North America. It was some like
Yeah.
right? Was that the stat?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just congrats to the coaches that have gone down there, like Think Hard, Coach Sael, who's been down there for a little while. Chris is down there and has been coaching and improving the level of play in CB LOL. But I think after that game 1 where it was just like, holy shit, there was like more kills than minutes at 20 minutes or some shit like that. It was like, who on that team is going to be the one that's like, hey guys, maybe this isn't the fight. Maybe it's time to pump the brakes a little bit. That had to be someone on the team saying that and then fucking doing it. Like, I love those guys. Those are my boys and they know that. And I think that's why
Who are your
I
boys?
want to be mad.
Who are your boys? Just contracts?
Yeah,
Or who else?
contracts and Palafox. Like,
Palafox is your boy?
yeah, I defend him
Damn.
every now and then. Christian's my boy.
Jesus, bro. I don't know how to feel about you anymore, Deacon. Like I don't know. Like, I didn't want you to say that publicly. What the fuck? Like,
I didn't want you to make the other joke too.
yo, guys, please, like, very temperamental. Yeah. All right. Anyways,
you laughed a little too hard, Jamada. You know.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's why I just get
Jesus.
angry, right? It's just like, come on, man. They deserve better. They are better, and congrats to the upset happening for Red Canids, Kalunga, and
I swear
we'll
it's
see
not
what
an
happens
upset.
against Hunter Thieves.
I swear it's not an upset.
It's
I
an
swear they're
upset.
actually just a better team.
No, it's an upset. Like Shopify opted into fighting with hands, and I think if you do that, anyone has a chance. They did not use their brains.
I think they might just be better. I think I think the Red might just be better. Like just overall. Like I mean, I don't think Shopify is good at all. That's why I was depressed when we lost to them. Is because I mean, if I
you
thought
guys
they were
opted
good,
into hands.
I don't even think we opted into hands. No, I mean we just like fucking.
No, you
trolled
did.
them
You
how
did
the
a
game
little.
was played.
You did a little, Dom. You did a little. Like,
In which game?
let's not do the witch game. Like,
Like, I mean, because I feel like people just talk out of
I
their
know-
ass, but it's
no,
not
no,
actually
no,
like
no,
true.
no,
Like,
I know.
I
But
reviewed
the
all
problem,
the games, so I just actually think that
this
like,
is exactly the
people-
problem because like you do have PTSD like from having to coach and watch these games live, right? And you would have reviewed them to death, but that is just the nature of how some of those games did play out, right? I think.
I don't think so at all. I think it's just completely wrong factually that we opted into hands. I think we just made like a bad.
Not for a whole series at a time, but yeah, I agree.
I mean,
Like what you're about to say.
I don't even think like what game did we opt into hands? Like what game had a moment where that we opted into hands? Like what are we actually saying? Like what do you consider opting into hands? Like doing a bad autocon? Because to me that's like a decision rather than like opting into hands. Like to me opting into hands is like skill checking randomly, like fighting is what I consider opting into hands.
Opting in hands is like when, in my opinion, is like when you would you could just leave. You could just leave. You could just leave, and you don't.
Yeah, like I would also define it along the lines of basically skill checking, right? Like in a circumstance where it's like you could just kind of soft reset a sequence and just go back to lanes like briefly, but instead you just elect to fight over whatever it is you want to fight over, whether it's Archon, whether it's Dragon, whether it's whatever like yieldable objective is possible just for like 30 seconds. But you opt for the fight. Like that to me, that is what I would consider.
When I
like,
consider
a
opting
hands
into
check.
hands, it's like you're trying to hands check people, and you're doing it at times that like doesn't make sense. Like if you do like a bad Baron, like I don't think you opted into hands. Like I think that you're opting into hands if you're just like choosing to like fight when you don't need to, or you're drafting to fight when you don't need to. That's what I think it is.
Which is the game, I think it was this game, right? It was the game where you had that super elongated fight, the TP back on in to try and fight, when I feel like you guys could have just reset. That to
Yeah.
me is opting into hands,
I,
right?
I would
I
also
think that's just a bad call. Like to be honest, I think it's just like not. It's to me.
But
Opting
I
into
think
hands
those
is
two
like
things can be
fighting
the
them in
same
like
thing though. Those two things can
no, I
be
don't
the
think they
same thing.
can. To be honest. No, I don't think they can. To be honest, I think that opting into hands is like when you fight a 3v3 that you don't need to fight, as opposed to like if you make a bad call, you do like a bad Baron or something. I don't think that it means you opted into hands. Like I think that the problem is not the hands. I think the problem is the decision.
The decision to go back and try to salvage the play.
Yeah.
To salvage the play.
Well,
Yeah.
like the way that I'll describe it is like I'm looking at, for example, like there's
Well, because I don't
the
think that the problem is trying to salvage the play. I think the problem is starting the objective. Like that's what I think the problem is. So like to me, that's just like to
But
me,
then
I
would you
thought our
not say
decision making was off.
if you stuck, like, let's say, all right, cool, the decision making is off, right? I love this tangent, by the way. Like let's say you like the decision is off, like it's kind of from an overhead point of view, it's like, yeah, you know this is a bad decision, but then the boys decide to stick it, and then what results from that is, instead of like a situation of, hey, this was a 75-25 play initially, but then that like has very quickly gone back closer to a 50-50, electing into that 50-50, which is then also like a smite flip, it's a team fight flip in circumstances where you might already have a gold lead, or again, you don't really need to take that risk, but you take it. Like, to me, that's a hands check. That is just going, you know what? Fuck it, we think we're better and we can execute on this play, regardless of whether you want to say, oh, this is like a incorrect call. I think both of those two things can coexist at the same time. Like, I don't think that is a mutually exclusive thing inside of like any particular sequence all of the time.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying.
I
The
think
initial issue starts with the bad call. Like that, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like to me, it's like opting into hands is like when you fight for no reason, as opposed to like when you start an objective at a bad time, you make a bad decision, and then it ends up being a fight. Like I'm not considering that opting into hands. Like when I came out of it, I wasn't like, oh, we're like trying to hands check them too much or something. Like
okay, that's fair.
That a lot of like the reasons that we lost, it's like, well, we made this really stupid autocon. It's just like a horrible autocon play. And it's like, yeah, why are we like making this decision in the game? Like, I think it's like an ego, like, oh, we're winning so hard, we can probably get this, as opposed to, like trying to ego by hands checking, or like, like fighting 1v1 and losing, or whatever else it could be.
I see. Which is what Shopify were doing against Red.
Yeah.
It was less brain, but less brain, all hands there, and they didn't do that all the time, in my opinion. But in that series, it felt like that's what it got drug into, and then they got caught, and that's why they lose the series, and that's why they're my high key most disappointing, because it's just that's how I feel. What is your most disappointing loss here, Dom?
I mean, to be honest, I don't think any of them were super disappointing, but if we're able to do the top ones, I would say the Gen.G KT is the most disappointing to me.
That's a good one.
Like, because I just thought that, like, there's no way you lose this, right? Like, there's no way you lose to KT, even if KT's playing their fucking best day ever, So that's pretty much it for me. Like, I just thought that this was just egregious.
So easy slam dunk one. They're not out of Worlds or anything yet. It's from the LPL. It's ALIG, man. That shit was crazy. They got 3-0'd. IG got 3-0'd. They got 10 kills in 3 games. They killed someone on AL 10 times over the course of maybe like 80 minutes of gameplay. That is an absurd stat to get dunked on by, man. Like, maybe it's because I had a little bit more faith in IG and I was starting to get maybe a little bought into like, hey, maybe they can like, you know, maybe that they can be okay. Like, I wasn't enamored by the EDG series. Like, it was a 3-0, but when you look at those the way that those games actually happened, EDG made them uncomfortable for those 3 games. Like, that was not necessarily a set of 3 games where it's like, yeah, that was like a piss stop. Like, there's no way that EDG are ever going to win. It's like, okay, likely was they weren't going to win, but again, IG didn't do it comfortably. And then Knight did what he did to Rookie for basically 4 games in a row, and BLG basically donoed 1 game to IG, and then it's like, well, shit. They played versus a air quotes good team, and then it didn't look great, and then they go up against the AL, who have, you know, for all intents and purposes, not necessarily looked the best, and that's the result that comes out of that. It's just a dry 3-0. Didn't even look like they were in it for basically any of the games. That's the most disappointing loss for me. Obviously, IG still have an opportunity to go to Worlds through regionals, but yeah, that was probably the most disappointing loss out of the selection for me.
Yeah. The good candidates. All good candidates.
Yeah.
I think again, not done yet for IG. Still has the opportunity through regionals, but yeah, that was pretty. I think, was that the most one-sided playoff series that we've had?
It has to
Across the
be.
major regions?
It has to be, by the way, because like even when you think about some of the other series that went 3-0, it's like there were things and kind of moments for other teams. Again, like T1 HLE, for example. Game 3, T1 had the opportunity to like get sold, probably go down a long list, right? GX had, again, GX is maybe another strong candidate depending on how strongly you feel about Europe.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of one-sided, no, bro. Like that, it had to have just been that. None other has been a bigger stomp.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know who is your most disappointing loss in this week's Highkey, Lowkey, Nokey in the comments below. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Now, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Now, football is underway. My Broncos and my Commanders are both 1-1, but I'm feeling pretty good about it. And it's time to make some picks here on Prize Picks, where it's simple to play. You just simply pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. And one of the cool things about Prize Picks is that it also offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. All right, let's make some of those picks. And the first one that jumps out at me is the old QB for Cleveland, Joe Flacco. Oddly enough, 0.5 rushing yards. That's right. 0.5 rushing yards. The old man's been able to stumble forward in both of his last games for a couple of yards. That's all you need. Give me the more in that one for Joe Flacco. Next up, Saquon Barkley. It's 0.5 receiving or rushing touchdowns. He is a touchdown machine. Give me the more on that one. And then finally, always got to go for one of my teams here. Courtland Sutton over for the Denver Broncos. It's more than 53.5. I know that he got held by Indy last week, but every other game that he's played in since before then has been a more. Give me a more 53.5 yards for Courtland Sutton. So there you have it. Prize Picks making it so easy to play and have the opportunity to win. So head on over and download the app today and use the code PowerSpike to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code PowerSpike to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. One more segment to go, and it's the Galaxy Brain Club. All the things that we haven't talked about and the futures here as we head into several championship weekends coming on up. LCP will be crowning their champion over in Vietnam later on. Also, LPL getting their championship underway, and then upper finals for LCK and LTA. Still have to wait one more week, but they'll have their series in just a little bit. All right, let's get into it. This week's Galaxy Brain Club, the next step in playoffs. All right. Let's just knock this one out of the way. No world where FlyQuest loses to Vivo Keat Stars, right?
I mean, maybe
right, guys?
Whipple's not playing, so I don't think the team is close to as good with the Gakkos as they are with Whippo. So who knows?
I think that's a good call. I think that's a really good call. Yeah, just every game that FlyQuest have played with Gakkos in, they haven't necessarily looked as good. Arguments for like, hey, when Gakkos has been in, like the stakes haven't been crazy high off the top of my head. Like,
And they played him in winter bracket finals.
Okay, that is also true. But like,
I think they played him only twice, right?
Yeah, it was like 2 games.
First game of the season.
Against DSG and then like you're saying against Shopify. I think that one game. And it's like DSG, like bro, they were winning that game anyway. Like Whippo in or not, and then they brought in Gakkos and he like okay at best, and FlyQuest as a whole just weren't really firing on all cylinders. So the fact that Whippo isn't there for the whole series, I think is a very big deal, just for kind of stability and probably just the voice that Whippo likely provides inside that team. Obviously, they've got plenty of other experienced players to rely on, especially obviously Inspired as like the main other guy, but as kind of like a secondary lighthouse. Whippo not being in is probably going to be a somewhat big deal inside of certain game-to-game moments, and I guess we'll have to see how like tangible it actually is. As I haven't really kept up enough with LTA South to very confidently say like Vivo Keat Stars top laner is gonna come in and absolutely demolish Gakkos because of the difference in play. But obviously, if it was Whippo in, it'll be like you would have a bit more faith, just baseline, to be like, yeah, Whippo should bare minimum, like absolute bare minimum, just sit there, lane comfortably, be fine, right? So, we'll see.
And again, the loser of this game is not out of the regional championship cross-conference gameplay. They will still be heading on over to Texas for the LAN and still have an opportunity to win the LTA regional championship. I think that's the right terminology. 100 Thieves and Red Canids. I mean, we're here. How do you see this one, Dom? Since, how do you see this one?
I mean, I think 100 Thieves should win. I mean, I think the problem that I see is that when you look at Red, their top laner is good, right? But I feel like the reason why they won versus Shopify was their mid jungle was just ahead in most games, specifically mid. I mean, Case is just a better player than Pal Fox, so it is what it is. But I also thought contracts got gapped in quite a few games. But into 100 Thieves, like Quid is probably the best laning mid laner in LTA period right now. So I just feel like I don't know if the bot lane will be able to get enough of a lead. Also, I feel like Dokle is just the person that wants to be weak sided every game. Like his job is to just show up, be weak side, lock in champions that will be good for the comp. Just lock in the champions that Sniper wouldn't, and that'll be fine. And I don't think that FNB should be able to get a big enough advantage over him to win the game. So, I mean, 100 Thieves, obviously, they are a team that I view as like a hands check team where they are just going to show up and fight you. And that can always go bad on a day because they're not going to rely mainly on macro. But I do think that they have I think that stylistically they should be good versus Red, at least the version of Red that we saw for Shopify.
Shimada.
Yeah, a lot of similar feelings. I feel as though the main point of focus for me will be Quid versus Case. Like this Case Kid again, haven't kept up enough with LTA South, so my overall judgment is going to be a lot more limited here. But from what I saw out of that Shopify Red series, if that's like a general level of how he's playing, I think 100 Thieves will need to be very like River Quid, very on their toes around the mid jungle. I'm really hoping that they kind of just stick to their style of how they've looked over the last couple of weeks. 100 Thieves, this is where they've looked a lot more calculated, which I feel like is not something you can say about 100 Thieves basically any time outside. Like all of the other 8 months of this year hasn't been the case. Like this last 4 weeks, I think is a much stronger argument since they've had Dokla in. And I think they just need to stick to what they've been doing. And I feel like that should, in theory, get them over the line here. And then stable bot lanes, I think, other thing. Like, if you're gonna be very centered through mid jungle, I feel like you already know Dokla, like Dom was highlighting, is gonna be on these weak side, like Esk champs. He's just gonna pick whatever's good for the comp, and then sit there, lane, not fall too far behind, be useful in the mid game onwards. Like, yeah, FBI and Ayla need to be on 2v2s where it's just like sit there, wait for River Quid to show up. That's it. That's all you need to do. If you want to take it to red bot lane, go ahead. But I feel like that is a far more volatile way to play the game, considering how your mid jungle has looked. And I think you want to provide the most ability for River and Quid to just take over games, or give Ayla the amount of freedom that he needs to go and be a playmaker. Because I've enjoyed Ayla's play over the last couple of weeks too. Like he has had some very strong playmaking performances, whether it was on Bard, Nico, Rakan. Like he's had some really, really solid showings. And I think that is the only excuse I would give 100 Thieves to not just kind of play stabilizer in the bot lane.
FBI, you don't need to open up, but you need to be on call. Just be on call. Be on duty. All right. LEC, they're off. No matches. They are there's a week here. So we won't forecast these future matches. Fnatic and KC, winner of that plays Koi, and then G2. We will just wait on that. Don't worry about it. We got you covered. Let's move on over to LCK, where we do have that marquee matchup, Gen.G and T1 for the 4th seed at Worlds to play against the LPL in play-ins. This should be an easy Gen.G 3-0.
3-1. I reckon Gen.G will drop one game, just like some in a very stupid, almost uncharacteristic way. For no other reason other than the plot demands it. And like genuinely, I wish I could be like, oh, here's the analytical reason, but no, Gen.G are just gonna drop a game just because. Like it's gonna be maybe we highlighted. All right, here's one analytical reason which could occur to allow this to happen is a jungle canyon, right? Oner gets like T1 gets a really solid like 3 lanes of prio somehow. Don't ask me for specifics. Oner's allowed to basically just have free ball on the map, right? And Gen.G have very little answer. Outside of that, yeah, I don't see T1 taking games off Gen.G comfortably based on the HLE series and their 2 Dam 1 series. Again, strong arguments. Dam 1 should have lost. Oh, sorry, T1 should have lost, obviously, the very first series. Argument they should have gone down 2-0 against Dam 1 in the second, right? So I don't think they've had a good look of it. Gen.G obviously losing to KT, very disappointing, but I think a lot of that can be attributed to massive Canyon underperformance. Huge performance from Kaz and BDD. And I just don't feel like Gen.G are going to offer T1 the same level of freedom, / they don't match up as well into one another. Because again, Chovy is probably going to manhandle Faker in laning phase more times than he won't. And I think that alone is going to really chain up T1.
Yeah, same thing, Dom.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be close. It's hard to know because I feel like both teams don't have like a very solid read of how they want to draft. Like T1 might have a read, but I don't know if they think that their read is actually good based off like what's happened. And I feel like there's going to be a bunch of like random champions that are going to be question marks that I think both teams are going to hope that the other team isn't really going to play, you know? Like, for example, like we've seen some Zoe come out, right? Saw BDD Showmaker. It's like, do either of them actually want to like play it? Who knows? Callisto Renata is something that was played by Gen.G. I thought they played it pretty decently, but you know, it's something that also T1 historically has played. What is the probably going to be on that? Kiana is a champion that I'm wondering about. Like, do either team actually want to play Kiana? Even though it's really OP, like there's going to be spots where it's going to be super OP, but it's probably going to be up because it's not getting banned until like 4 or 5 in a lot of spots in LCK. So like, do you play Kiana or do you just decide, no, we're just going to lock in Jarvan, we're going to lock in Vi, we're going to lock in Wukong, going to lock in Nocturne and just play the game the way that they know how to play. So I wonder how draft is going to go because I feel like there's going to be options to get big draft advantages, but I don't know if either team's actually going to take them.
Yeah, I think the key thing for me is what is the team going to draft for Guma here in game one?
Yeah, I mean, they tried
one of
They tried
Hanwha, they
Kai'Sa.
tried Kaisa. In game
Mm.
two, or sorry, in the second series against DPlus, they tried Ziggs. So that seems to, you know, teams don't necessarily always have to make massive changes and massive gambits, but that's been T1's. It's, hey Guma, we're gonna try to flex the champ pool of bot lane early by putting you on something else. And I don't, and I want to, we've needed to hammer this home. I guess we don't need to hammer this home, but I'm hammering this home. Like, I don't think this is necessarily Guma's fault. I think it's the way that the team played around Guma, but it just happens to be his champion that they were, you know, locking in on here. So, and the way that these drafts went here. So what is T1 going to do with that opening game one pick? And then KT and Hanwha Life Esports. Flip a coin. Will KT show up? Will Peanut show up? Like, that's what this series feels like. It's, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It should be Hanwha taking this one. They are class through and through, except maybe in the mid lane. Actually, definitely in the mid lane. Like, BDD is better than Zeka. I don't think that's a stretch. But who knows? Everyone else, who knows? Like, actually, no, because Peanut is so much better than Perfect. I mean, Zeus is so much better than Perfect. So that's the other one. It should be 3-0, nothing to see here. See you at Inspire Arena. Get your tickets to go watch Hanwha in the finals. But I don't know. Dom, how do you see that one?
I just don't trust the side lanes of KT. Like, I just really don't trust the side lanes of KT. So it's gonna have to be a Cuz masterclass, or I think it's just doomed. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think that's clean and crisp. Jamada?
Yeah, I mean, 3-1, absolute maximum. Like, that one comes from the Cuz masterclass plus, like, a BDD on Zoe level performance, like we saw out of that Gen.G series. Otherwise, it's, yeah, like, I don't know. The amount of times that I see it happening again, where they beat a Gen.G HLE very low. Yeah, I'm swinging in at 3-1 here.
You know, Wolf was calling out Duck Dom, and Duck Dom's play being pretty good, and he did play well against
I
Gen.G.
think, look,
it was fun.
I think if KT's side lanes can deliver a 6.5 out of 10.
That's a lot out of Perfect, man.
I know. But what I'm asking from him is far from perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
What I'm asking from him is far from perfect. Okay. And I do feel like as long as you're not putting the entire map in game losing states, Cousin BDD can do the rest. I really think they can. I really think they can do a majority of the rest here. Do I think that they're gonna win the series? No, fuck no. But if we want to go down that magical rainbow again, that's how it's gonna have to happen, right? It's not gonna be pretty. It's gonna be very, very, very ugly, right? It's gonna be getting smashed, you know, in lane, but again, not to a point where the game's over. And then Cousin BDD come into the mid game, crazy things happening. You know, again, BDD is probably going to touch on Zeka like a lot this series in lane especially, right? If Peanut goes back to the Peanut that we've become accustomed to, even an average Cuz game is just significantly better than that, right? So I think this is like a lot of mid jungle deluxe as we've kind of hammered on. But I think again it does come down to just side lanes from KT trying to be a bit more reliable than they have other times been. And if that condition can be met, then I think we get a good series. But I think more times than not, again, 3-1 to HLE is what we see.
All right, LCK in the books. Let's move on over to LPL, where anyone's legends, after dropping down into the lower bracket, have dispatched 2 of those, like, I don't know, fan favorite, dark horse favorites in IG and JDG, 3-0. And man, Tarzan looks so good. He looks so good again. He's just stealing shit. He's forcing tempo. He's invading with Kyle. It's AL's back, baby. This is a Worlds qualification match for AL. If they win, they make it to Worlds because either BLG wins and takes the #1 seed, and then they'll be left over with the most points, or they'll win and then BLG has the most championship points, which is why BLG is already qualified for Worlds. For top esports, win, they're still not in. The only way they can qualify in this championship is through running it and winning this match, then beating BLG and taking the #1 seed. Otherwise, they will be going to the World's qualification matches, the gauntlet, if you will. How do you see this one going with a streaking AL against Top Esports, who's been dominant for a while now, Jamada?
Very simple. I think if they can keep Kanavi chain down, they're probably chilling, to be honest. I think withstanding some really poor performances out of Kyle, I think they're kind of okay across the map. Like, to me, I feel like Top Esports, as I've kind of made clear throughout a lot of this year, I will never trust them. It's just not going to happen. In fact, I would almost, I'll still stand tall on, like, I would rather any of the other, like, weird 5th, 6th, 7th teams end up going to Worlds over them. That's how little I trust them, like, internationally. It's annoying that they get the job done domestically, but that is just what it is. They fail to get the job done against BLG. And I feel like, given Tarzan's recent, rebirth makes it sound a little bit too dramatic, but, refinding of previous form.
That guy is insanely good. I think he's the best jungler in the world right now.
Yeah, like yeah. Like, once Tarzan refines that rhythm, like, it's really a bit ridiculous, right? So I feel like if, to me, they just turn this into a jungle centric series where they don't let Kanavi attack lanes and they give Tarzan freedom to just basically do whatever the fuck he wants on the map through prep and through draft prep, I think the series looks very comfortably AL. I think for Top Esports, it's actually just the exact same. I think they have to really play aggressively into shutting down Tarzan, because then I think systematically the rest of AL will fold in on itself. If you can't attack Tarzan, then I think attacking the bot lane is a really easy way to go about it. Because again, I think Kyle, ever since MSI, something's just looked wrong with him. Like, he just doesn't have the same eye. If he's not being led by, Tarzan engages with Tarzan's on those kind of champions, or just generally other members kind of making the first step in ahead of him, and then he follows up, then he just looks really lost. So I think that's another angle of attack for Top Esports to really look at. And of course, Jaculov and especially like Hong historically has been the guy that you'd look at as being a bit of a psycho in terms of how he looks for his engages. And even though he's definitely matured a lot this year on Top Esports, it's just a button press of him, and you get that same Hong. So I think that'll probably be the other path that I would look at. So there's that, and not to potentially almost cross all lanes here, but 369, of course. Roller 9, all good. He's been rolling 9s most series. I think his series into Bin, into BLG was probably one of the worst he's had throughout the year. Other than that, if that doesn't happen, then I think Top Esports, they're not stripped for options, but I feel like AL only really have like maybe 2 paths in, but I still think that those particular angles are significantly stronger than the ones that Top Esports have.
How do you see this one, Dom? I mean, obviously, two fantastic informed junglers here, but what else?
I mean, I think that one thing to look at is Flandre. Actually, I feel like Flandre versus 369. It's pretty interesting because I feel like they have similar champion pools, and they both are probably the best top laners at making space. So I want to see like who's actually going to be taking the Scion, for example, and who's going to be taking more of the like Mbessa side of these matchups, because I think that could actually be pretty good overall for either team. Is like I just think that both of them are just they're going to be on space creators, and then yeah, I think when it comes to jungle champion pool, they're the two junglers right now that it feels like can play everything. Whether it's Nefiri or whether they need to play Kiana or like all these picks, it feels like they have all the tools available, and I think that is something that I think could be really interesting. Just seeing the matchup of junglers where they're actually good at all these champions, because right now a lot of the junglers they're picking champions that you know they don't want to play, but these guys can play everything. So yeah.
And then BLG sits at top. Are they? How do you see this for BLG, who just have to wait? You know, are they comfortably the favorite in the grand finals against either one of these teams, or is one matchup better than the other, Dom?
I think AL matches up better. That's what I think.
Jamada?
No, I agree. I think that AO matches up a little bit better too. Like I said, even though I feel like top esports have potentially more angles to go about how they approach the series, I feel like AL's potential angles that I at least see just seem more consistent and stronger, right? Through either playing through jungle, or just kind of again like making sure that bot doesn't end up in like weird spots. That's really it.
All right, boom. There you have it. The global coverage. Who you got over for LCP? Sorry, LCP fans. Jamada, who you got for LCP?
Oh goodness me! I mean, the funny thing with that was the what do you call it, right? The upset
Gam.
of Gam getting wiped. I'll still take CFO, like going the whole way. Well, they're obviously already in finals, but I mean, like I don't see CFO losing to PSG or Team Secret Wales. That's the merger now.
Team Secret Wales.
Team Secret Wales, yeah. CFO just still look step above the rest of me. Anytime I've peeped in, they still look as exciting to watch as the previews that we got from them internationally at first and then MSI.
Yeah. Want to put money? Not money on it? Do you want to just make it official, Dom?
Yeah. I mean, I actually watched CFO this morning. I watched their games this morning, and they just look just way better. I mean, I don't trust Karsa at all. In PSG, if they actually get there, so I'll take CFO. Like, I just think CFO is too good.
Yeah, it is a good story for PSG. 8 years ago, they first qualify on in with the same, not same core, him and Maple. They do it again, but CFO just head and shoulders above. We'll see what happens there in LCP. There you have it, y'all. The region's covered, done and dusted. The upsets, Worlds is saved thanks to Beryl. The rest of DPlus Key.
God, that guy needs to retire so desperately. Like, it's actually crazy. I think every year he does just more and more damage to his legacy. Like, the best way, like if he retired after 2022, he would have more of a GOAT case than what he has right now, like for a support role. He is actually just ruining his legacy with every moment that he breathes in LCK.
And there's flashes of it too, right? There's flashes of like, oh, there it is. He's locked in. And then I mean, the seatbelt's off, eject.
Like, he definitely sees angles sometimes where it's like, okay, other supports are not confident enough to go for this play. You can see that he has like good game knowledge, but it's just like, it's too all over the place, man. Like, it's too hard to trust this guy. It's really, really difficult to ever look at a game and be like, yeah, Beryl's going to carry this.
Yeah. Old trophy, new trophy. Old trophy's back, but like with like bedazzled.
Old trophy just clears. It's always been that way, man. Do you know how the new trophy looks like? You know how a lot of streaming services and everything now, everything looks very corporatized because it's all like blocky.
Yeah,
that's how
boxy.
The new world all boxy. That's how the new world trophy looks. The air quotes new Welsh trophy from 22 to last year looked. The old one it's just got character. and it's a certain character and level of iconicness in its shape that you can't replace.
Yeah.
You can't replace. So yeah, glad that the old one is back.
Summoners Cup is back. Worlds very soon. Many of the slots locked on up here. Still have the LPL to play for it. LEC still going through their championship matches. But we'll have all of that covered thanks to our friends and sponsors. If you haven't already, like and subscribe here at Last Free Nation. Watch the co-streams, watch the educational content. I'll see you over at LCK on behalf of everyone here at Last Free Nation. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time for more Power Spike. Bye-bye.